5 months before President Nixon won his second term, 5 burglars were captured inside the headquarters of the Democratic National Committee in a building complex called Watergate. From the beginning, there was widespread suspicion the White House was involved in the break-in. The Washington Post claimed the Watergate burglars used money from the committee to re-elect the president. Amidst continuous denials from the committee, the trial of the Watergate burglars opened in January 1973. The 5 burglars and 2 former White House aides had been charged with bugging the Democratic headquarters and stealing records. All 7 pleaded guilty and were convicted. None of them broke their silence about any involvement by anyone in the administration. Within 2 months, however, one of the convicted burglars, James McCord, admitted to federal judge John Sirica that political pressure from the White House had forced him to plead guilty. McCord also told Judge Sirica that the pressure to perjure himself had come from officials high in the Nixon administration. It was apparently true. President Nixon stunned the nation by announcing on television that 4 of his top advisors, White House counsel John Dean, Attorney General Richard Kleindienst, H.R. Haldeman, and John Ehrlichman, were leaving because of the Watergate affair. The Senate now wanted to begin its own investigation into possible violations of campaign practices by the administration. In testimony before a Senate committee, Alexander Butterfield, Nixon's former appointment secretary, disclosed that the president had secretly installed voice-activated tape recorders in the White House.
Butterfield, I understood you to say that all calls to the White House, of whatever nature and character, would be taped. Is that an accurate statement?
Into those telephones, to and from those telephones I mentioned, yes, sir, that's an accurate statement.
A senator, a congressman, or a governor called, it was taped.
Yes, the tape would not discriminate.
Did you state who installed these devices, all of these devices?
The White House recordings were just the evidence the investigators needed. They would speak for themselves and finally reveal who was and who wasn't telling the truth about Watergate. But Nixon claimed he had special presidential immunity and refused to turn over the tapes. As many Americans slowly began to lose confidence in President Nixon, he would suffer another crippling defeat, this time from his strongest supporter. In August 1973, Vice President Spiro Agnew was accused of taking bribes while serving as governor of Maryland.
I want to say at this point, clearly and unequivocally, I am innocent of the charges against me. I will not resign if indicted. I will not resign if indicted.
But the evidence gathered by the Justice Department was so strong that Vice President Agnew resigned in October. Agnew was succeeded by Gerald Ford of Michigan, minority leader in the House of Representatives. On the same day Nixon nominated Ford, an appellate court ordered the president to turn over the controversial White House tapes. The president finally agreed, but several days later, his credibility slipped even more when the White House announced that 2 of the 9 subpoenaed tapes did not exist. And public confidence in the presidency bottomed out altogether when it was disclosed that one of the secret tapes had a gap of 18.5 minutes. The conversation between Nixon and his assistant, Bob Haldeman, had been erased deliberately. Still hoping to save his administration and not surrender the tapes, the president released an edited transcript of the recordings. The documents were not enough. Special Watergate prosecutor Leon Jaworski wanted the actual tapes, not a transcript edited by the White House. Jaworski took his fight to the Supreme Court, and the highest court ruled against Nixon, saying his position as president did not preclude him from providing the evidence necessary for the due process of law. While the president now willingly agreed to hand over the tapes, it was in fact too late.
Other 3 members
On July 27, 1974, the Judiciary Committee of the House of Representatives, by a vote of 27 to 11, adopted the first article of impeachment against President Nixon. The charge was obstruction of justice for blocking a full investigation of the Watergate affair. 2 days later, voting 28 to 10, the committee adopted the second article of impeachment. The charge, abusing his powers of office to violate constitutional rights. The next day, the third article of impeachment was adopted by the Judiciary Committee. Voting 21 to 17, the committee cited Nixon's violations of congressional subpoenas. The president was also accused of concealing the Cambodian bombing raids and filing fraudulent income tax returns. But those two proposed articles failed to pass. A desperate President Nixon now released more transcripts of the White House tapes. It was a decision that sealed his fate, for the new evidence showed beyond question that the Watergate burglary reached all the way to the Oval Office in the White House. Just 6 days after the Watergate burglary, the tape transcripts revealed Nixon himself had ordered a halt to the investigation of the break-in.
The very difficult decision.
On August 8, 1974, a broken Richard Nixon spoke to the nation from the Oval Office.
I have never been a quitter. To leave office before my term is completed is abhorrent to every instinct in my body. But as president, I must put the interests of America first. America needs a full-time president and a full-time Congress, particularly at this time with problems we face at home and abroad. To continue to fight through the months ahead for my personal vindication would almost totally absorb the time and attention of both the president and the Congress in a period when our entire focus should be on the great issues of peace abroad and prosperity without inflation at home. Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow. Vice President Ford will be sworn in as president at that hour in this office.
On the morning of August 9, 1974, Richard Nixon left the White House for the last time, humbled and shamed as the first U.S. president ever to resign from office. The nation was numb, for America had been witness to the rise and fall of Richard Nixon, now a beaten, shattered man who less than 2 years before had won the presidency by the largest majority in history.